Technically I've already reviewed this. But given the subject matter, I think it's fitting to give it another go. Hades 2. I reviewed this back when it was in early access. It's had its 1.0 release. So let's talk about it again. This is, at this point, a complete experience in the same way that Hades 1 was. It is a rogue-lite game in which you get to play over and over while unlocking certain things that cause permanent upgrades, and you get to pick your weapon at the start of any given run, which is one of the things I really appreciate about it. Like there were some roguelikes or roguelite games that like I liked but drove me up the wall. Dead Cells for one, because like you get to pick your weapon, but it would only give you two choices, and sometimes it wouldn't offer me one that I liked. Hades 2 has its, and Hades 1 for that matter, has its way of incentivizing you to try all of them. But anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. So you work your way through rooms, take on what's there, get some kind of reward to try and get stronger for this run, see if you can get to the end. Pretty straightforward on paper. Now, Hades 1, I sunk a lot of time into. A lot of time into. I think I've sunk about as much, if not more, into Hades 2. I put about 250 hours into this thing because it keeps, recording from when I was playing it in early access as well. So, whereas Hades 1 was about Zagreus trying to escape the underworld, this is about Melinoe, his sister, trying to initially work her way down into the underworld to deal with Kronos, the Titan, who has come back to life and is causing a whole bunch of problems as the Titan of Time, who has a pretty understandable grudge against his kids, i.e., most of the gods. He has a grudge against all the gods. It's just not all the gods are his kids. So, you know how it goes. And when I played this in early access, you had the four the four different areas going down that you could go through eventually and fight Kronos. And that was about as much as was in the game at the time. At the time of the 1.0 release, once you get to a certain point in the game, it also opens up going up to Mount Olympus to deal with Kronos' forces up there and have a completely different set of areas and bosses and also story beats and characters to encounter. So this is really not just a sequel to Hades. This is a double length sequel. I don't think I've literally put twice as much time into this, but in terms of what it's giving you, like, it's not literally the same four areas over and over and over again. There's actually 8 that you will do in chunks of 4 pieces, and you can choose which one you'd rather deal with. And they are actually presented differently. It's not just a matter of the bosses are different, the enemies are different, though that is true. There is actually a structural difference in some of the levels. Like, taking the underworld path to deal with Kronos it basically plays pretty much the same as the previous Hades game. Going up towards Olympus, you initially start out in this sort of hub area that gives you a much higher degree of control over what rewards and boons you're going to get early on. And that run in general actually gives you a fair amount more control, which you're going to need. Play-wise, I think I'd mentioned when I talked about the early access, there was a lot more emphasis on your spells and your abilities beyond just the use of the weapon, because it really felt like in Hades 1, what you were doing to quote-unquote get good was to just keep using the weapons, figure out what ones worked for you, and just get good with those weapons. And then whatever boons from the gods that you would get on any given run were icing. They made it a little bit easier, but you could probably get through this thing with these weapons just as it comes. That's really not the case here. I will say that each weapon plays very differently, and I actually like almost all of them. I think I probably like the axe the least. I've learned the hard way that as much as I like things that are real impactful, I hate a slow weapon. Drives me nuts. So I have found fun in all of the different weapons though. And while you do have to learn how to get good with it, and the weapons do play differently, the boons feel a lot more important, and not just in a get a god and get their high end legendary stuff, but how they play off of each other. I find myself putting a lot more thought into, okay, if I've got this god with this boon, who complements this really well, especially since I've got their boon from this god attached to my main attack, and I'll get this one that goes with my special, and I'll get this one that is a passive, that's a constant thing going on, that works real well. And stuff just kind of fits together a lot more neatly in a way that feels more thoughtful, and also, if you are lucky on any given run, can result in way more broken builds. Like I I got pretty good on the original Hades, but there weren't that many builds that I was able to put together, at least, that felt like they properly broke the game. There was some that made it a fair bit easier, but like, especially when it comes to the secret aspects of the staff and the wands. Um with the wands especially, I think it was one of the first times I beat the Olympus run. I don't think it was literally the first time, but it was one of the first times that I beat the Olympus run. I got stuff on on that on that run that went with those wands that made them so broken. I was beating uh like mid bosses in literally a matter of seconds, and even bosses in like under a minute. Multi-phase bosses just going down because I'm in their general vicinity. And I don't generally manage to make it that broken, but like it feels less, it doesn't feel like an accident, like it just got lucky. It felt like I built this. I feel way more in control of the kind of builds I end up with this than I remember feeling in the first Hades. Story wise, all the characters are really well fleshed out. There aren't actually all that many returning characters, and some of them are kind of spoilers. But initially, really, the only returning character from the first game is Skelemius, who is your trainer, as he should be. But otherwise, who you're initially dealing with are folks like Hecate and Odysseus and Nemesis. Um, Hypnos is around, but he's passed out and can't get out of his sleep. And then, of course, there's the gods, a lot of whom you encountered in the first game, but also some new ones. I like Hera a lot, not just like as a character, but like I like her boons a lot. Her primary thing is usually this ability called Hitch, which it basically connects the various enemies on a field so that if you hit one, it hurts all of them. It's nice. Again, especially if you pair it with the right stuff, it can get real broken. But we also got Hestia with a scorch ability, which kind of functions a little bit like a poison, which sets enemies on fire and lets them burn for a little bit. So all these characters, all these gods, and I think every single god from before also returns in terms of the boons you can get. But like I said, we got some new ones as well. Hephaestus, that's another new one. I like his stuff as well. Like, you do have to kind of commit if you're going to go with Hephaestus, because the best results you're going to get out of his stuff require a lot of upgrades. Not just like because obviously again, if you played the game, getting a boon, there's the rarity level of the boon, then there's the level itself of the boon. So with Hephaestus, if you can get the right ones, especially early on, and then get stuff to level up those things, because Hephaestus is one of his big things is this sort of explosive damage that you get on a hit, but it has a cooldown. So like if you attach it to your standard attack, you hit with your standard attack and you do like real big wallop of damage, but then you got to wait 10 seconds before it does all that extra damage again. But as you level it up, that narrows down until suddenly like, oh, it's only 8 seconds. Oh, it's 6. It's 5. It's 4. It's 3. Oh, I'm just wailing people with this massive amount of damage every 2 frickin' seconds. You do have to commit with him, but again, I like it. And I've had a nice variety of builds with this. In terms of presentation, it is very much Hades. It hasn't really changed in terms of its overall structure. It feels very refined. It feels like the kind of thing of like, okay, so we took Hades, we've got all of our notes for what people thought, what they felt, our own ambitions, maybe ideas we didn't get to, or ideas that we had that were too big a change to just implement into an update into Hades 1. Let's make what is kind of that game over again, but more and bigger and deeper, especially in terms of the mechanics. And I think they really nailed that. It is the kind of sequel that is going to make it really hard to go back to the previous game, just because there's just so much more. Like just the volume of stuff and the options and the freedom that you've got. And like I said, I've sunk a lot of time into this. I have seen the credits roll. I have seen the epilogue. I've talked to the Fates, and I've really enjoyed this. And I think the story goes some interesting ways. I mean, the ways in which the story kind of bends over backwards to allow you to keep playing after the story is resolved is thin, but that was true of the first game too. Let's not kid ourselves. But I think it tells its story well. And of course, excellent voice cast, amazing soundtrack. That's what I have come to expect from this studio. Supergiant Games are incredibly reliable in those aspects. Yeah, it's real good. It was already good back when it had its early access, but its full 1.0 is a really stellar game. And it's one that I am happy to have put as much time in it as I have. I don't know how much more time I'm going to put into it. I've got like 92% of the achievements on it, and I don't know how committed I am to the few that I haven't gotten yet. So I might finally be winding down on it, but boy, I've had fun. Hades 2, full 1.0 release. Have you played it? What did you think about it? Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Patreon pays the bills. Enables me to do this as my living, even if you can't help me out that way. Like, share, subscribe. All of those help. Don't worry too much about it, though. We take a relaxed attitude around here, so you can just come on back next time you need a break. Now to thank my highest supporting patrons. Robin Moore, Jared Boyce, Subin Lutfulla, Andicate 808, Mara G, Angry Casperl, Dave Hall, Movie Turtle, Oliver B, The Baba Duchess, Sean Miller, Welsh Wrestling Geeks, Melissa Pedersen, Mary Mello, Becky Sparks, Loki Eris, Tracy Scrabbit, Pau Baraba Joggle, and Sir Didymus is my favorite. I also want to give my thanks to all the supporters who didn't get named because you are all indeed very nifty people. You could be a nifty person too if you go support me on Patreon, and there's the clause. Ugh.